43.
42. 41.
40.
39.
Number 1.
39.
38.
37.
36.
35.
34.
33. 32.
31.
30. 29.
28.
27.
26.
25.
24.
23.
21.
20.
19.
18.
17. 16.
15.
14.
13.
12.
11.
10.
9. 8.
7. 6. 5.
4.
3.5.
3.
2.
1.
Hey, Rocky, you want to see me pull a show out of my hat? Nothing up my sleeve. Presto!
Hi, and welcome to the Mouthwash Talk Show, a minty, fresh take on life. But it seems like ever since I've changed it to that, we've been doing politics. So before we get going, I see all the usual suspects. Well, actually, we have new suspects. We have some surprise panelists tonight, all Republicans. And you're probably thinking, wait a second, you got Andrew Horning on there. He's not a Republican. He's a libertarian. What's he doing? Au contraire. He is now come over to the dark side of the Republican. And I, for one, when I found that out, was a happy camper because he is a sharp individual. He's a great mind. And I think he can move the needle somewhere. We don't know where, but I think he can do it. So we have him on, and Jay Hart. Jay Hart is, I would say he's outspoken. I don't think he's shy. He's not shy at all. He's going to be on the panel. And then, of course, we have Tiffany. She's coming on. She's our based Republican, and this is going to be an interesting talk. And then, of course, we have Joseph Bortka, which I think he disappeared from behind stage. So I don't know what happened to him, but hopefully he'll get back online here because he's the man of the hour. So you're thinking, who's Joseph Bortka? Well, Joseph Bortka is someone who is trying to get the GOP, the Republican Party, to follow the rules. He wants that, the rules, Robert's rules of meetings. He just wants them to be able to, if you're a delegate, you want to be able to bring something up on the floor of the convention and have it discussed, or have it discussed beforehand and have it voted on by the delegates, basically to give the delegates more power. So he'll be coming on here, and hopefully I'll be able to get him. Sal, he's got to reboot his computer. Okay, so he'll be on. He'll be on. But I have a little bit of housekeeping to do here, house cleaning. Well, I'll tell you what. If anybody was accusing me of being a nice guy this week, there's a couple people on X and the online groups that I lit up pretty hard this week. Pretty much took them to the woodshed on some of their comments, not who they were sporting, but how they were doing it. I had some problems with that, but we started this mouthwash adventure. Tiffany and Lucy and Brad. Brad's been along about half the way, but Lucy and Tiffany have been on this for pretty much the entire time. And the reason I started it was because I know that the media back 5 years ago, believe it or not, 2020, they didn't really cover, everything. If you didn't know somebody, pay somebody, or was a big wig or whatever, they didn't cover you. So we decided to start our own media. And, since then, we've grown to 3 shows. We have the Mouthwash show. We have Winter Reviews, which was on before this, and Steve Whitmer's just done a great job with that show. And then Brad Sawinski is bringing along The Rinse on Sunday nights. So 3 shows. I mean, look at us go. And many have tried podcasting in this market, in this area, and many have failed. But yet here we are. So that being said, next week we're going to have the Secretary of State candidates on. And I thought it'd be good to have Joseph come on and explain the rules and this lawsuit that he has going that is actually making it to the Supreme Court, I guess. I don't know. I've not really dug into what it is exactly. I know a little bit of the premise, but I have not dug into what it is. So we are going to have that. I have I got a funny video. I just got to show you this video because I see Joseph come on. I just about hit him. I have to be the producer, so let me pull this up. Screen share. Let's see, Facebook, and share this. Let's see. Okay, let's make sure it's up and play.
Hey there, this is for the people in Indiana, specifically Fort Wayne, where I'm from. I was doing some research on some things earlier, and this came up in Fort Wayne. Look where it's going to be. But wait, there's more. So when I saw this, I was like, that's weird. Haven't heard much about it. So I was looking at the website and saw that it was going to be held at the Grand Wayne Center. When there's big conventions like this at the Grand Wayne Center, that means there's going to be a lot of, restaurants, a lot of stuff going on at the hotels. So knowing many people in the service industry, I just reached out to a couple of them and I said, hey, have you heard anything about this? And yes, they have. They are actually reaching out to local businesses and trying to buy out entire restaurants. And the public, people in our community don't have access. They can't go to these restaurants because, it's not for them. You know when this event's being held? On Father's Day weekend. Now, I want to get really real with a lot of you right now. Just had that No Kings protest, right? Standing on the sidewalks with your signs, yelling at all the cars that are going past. I'm going to need all of you to have that same energy when your representatives that you're protesting are in our city. Because do you want to know what's outside the Grand Wayne Center? All of the restaurants, all of the hotels, sidewalks. And what are sidewalks? Public space. All of the things that you're mad about and all of your concerns, take it and say it to their faces. As I scrolled down on the website, I had a list of the hotels that are going to be hosting these people. And then I got all the way down to the bottom and I found this really cute video. It actually is a really nice video that Visit Fort Wayne made to put on the GOP's website. Now, all I'm going to say is a lot of you might want to go watch this video because there are many people that I personally know in that video and businesses that do not support this. But guess what? Their businesses and their faces all over the website. Again, this isn't until June 2026, Father's Day weekend, but I am also very curious to see which restaurants and businesses are going to close the doors to people in our community to cater to these fucks. Don't worry, I'm going to keep all of you updated on this because we've got some time. But me personally, I will never use my platform to drag a small local business. I like to know the people and businesses that my money's going to. Now, I don't say this often, but share this one. Spread the word.
All right. And that is the local lesbian. Now, I found a couple things that I thought was funny, and I didn't want to bring the panel on and have them anywhere near this video because I just stumbled on it when I looked up GOP convention in 2026, and it popped up. And I find it odd that the local lesbian is worried about Father's Day. I'm like, that's like jumbo shrimp. Or, it's one of those oxymorons. So I just saw, and obviously that was probably done last year when the announcement was made. I don't know when the first No Kings rally was up there, but it's been out for a little while. I just found it interesting that, this triggers people that they can't have a convention come to their city when all these folks are going to spend a bunch of money. And also, these restaurants are going to be busy Friday and Saturday. They will not be busy Sunday. Most people will be headed home. Saturday is the voting. There's not much going on Saturday evening. So it's basically a Friday, Saturday daytime thing. So I'm like, it just seems a little over the top, but I found it comical. She is very sincere in her delivery and all that. So you know what? We might have some protesters up there. So I don't know. Andrew, welcome to the GOP. You're going to get protested when you go up there as a delegate. So let's see. I'm going to go ahead and bring on Joseph Bortka. We have him here. Joseph, what is up?
Hey, John, how's it going?
I love just sending you the link at the last minute and have, that's, technology. I'm all the way down here in Florida and y'all are crying about rain and we need rain down here. It's a little dry. I think we're hotter and humider than I was today. I'm sorry about your luck. I don't freeze in the winter. And I don't sweat that much in the summer. So it's so far it's a utopia that I can't hardly afford to leave. But anyway, I will be back in time for the convention.
No air conditioning.
Yeah, well, that'd be a problem. It is hot. I've been working on my book, Joseph. I'm writing a book, So anybody that did me wrong in politics, I'm naming names. And anybody did me right, I'm naming names. So I'm on chapter 3. I hope to have it out by October. We might even want to call it the October surprise. I have a deadline of July to get that done. But anyway, enough about me. Joseph, tell our viewers a little bit about yourself, and then let's get into the premise of this lawsuit.
Sure.
It's going to the Supreme Court, is it?
Yeah, we filed our petition for transfer to the Supreme Court. So yeah.
Look at you go. All right. Well, anyway, tell our viewers a little bit about yourself. Why the bill, lawsuit? What's up?
Well, I'm a handyman from Indianapolis, and I've always tried to pay attention to what's going on in politics ever since I was a kid. My dad was watching the news, and I've always gone by the phrase, you might not care about the government, but the government sure cares about you. So I've always taken that to heart and tried to make sure that I understand what's going on, because there's a lot of power in the government, and I always want to make sure that it's not hurting my friends and family, as you should too.
I do.
So,
I'm a less government guy. I think anybody knows that I am a less government guy. I'm able to do a lot of things, even for my community, even for my neighborhood. I've actually offered to pay for and install sidewalks in Mars Hill, and my councilman said, we'll arrest you if you try it. So
wow.
that's what we deal with in this world. The government can't do it for us, and by gosh, it can't be done. So give me the elevator speech on this lawsuit, and then I want to bring the panel on.
Sure. Yeah. Well, the last few years at the Republican conventions, they've been increasingly clamped down on delegate participation. If you're not familiar with the Republican convention, you might be more familiar with something like the Southern Baptist Convention, or other conventions like the national political conventions and things, where delegates actually have rights to participate, and it's very structured and orderly because there's a lot of people. But in a proper convention, there's issues that are discussed and debated and voted on, and we've always had people, for years, always having their opinion about this or that language on the platform. And a few years ago, I got involved and helped some delegates prepare to bring business to the convention. And lo and behold, we find out that although they act as if there's rules that they're following, they just make it up on the fly, and they just do whatever they feel like in the moment is what it appears.
And if you'll
like.
notice, this is the picture of that.
Oh yeah,
yeah. And you stood right up. Let me see if I can get my finger on the right place.
I was in the back. I was
it Ken Colbert? Was it Ken Colbert that stood up?
Yep.
Yeah,
Ken was the guy.
Yeah, and they shut you down like friggin', I don't know, like something. You got shut down. So
yeah.
But that started the thing. You got some dialogue going with them, but they really didn't. It never.
Well, yeah, and then last time around when Micah got elected that year, we tried again to try to bring everything out, and then they did it again. They just flouted the rules in front of everybody, and after that I went on a deep dive historically and started learning more about the corporate structure of the Indiana Republican Party and how it was formed and all this stuff, and I realized that I thought I had a pretty good case to be made that the convention is actually the highest governing body of the party organization. And so that really led to the lawsuit. Once I had that evidence, because back in in 1850s when the Republican Party was starting, there's a lot less news, and everybody read the newspaper who wanted to know what was going on. There wasn't TV and Twitter and all this stuff. There was just the newspaper. And so they used to publish the whole official proceedings of the party conventions in the newspapers. So if you look in older newspapers from the Civil War era, you can actually find the official proceedings of all the party conventions that they had back in the day.
So, hey, Joseph, I want to stop you there. I want you to go out and reboot. You're losing your signal. You're starting to sound like Mickey Mouse. So your video is not so hot, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to bring the panel on. You go ahead and reboot, come back in. I'm going to bring the panel on, and then I'll bring you back on. But yeah, you're technical. It must be that internet in the hood. So let's see here. Okay, let's bring on the people, all the people. Let's go, people. Let's see what's up. Okay, let's Tiffany, you get down here by me since you're a veteran on the show. We put the newbies on top, although both of these gentlemen have been on the show before. Let's start above me with Jay Hart. Jay Hart, how are you tonight with your low IQ hat on?
I'm doing all right. I just out in the woods, went a little further, deeper in the woods, deeper south, and built another house out in the woods. A little more security.
Yeah, everybody should go out in the woods. Andrew Horning, you are out in the woods as well, and you're building a house. Is that our theme tonight? Let's build a house in the woods.
I am building a house. Yeah, we're building a timber frame, so it's that's kind of a big deal, and that's and at my age, and I'm older. You know, this should be like age before beauty. You know, so I should probably be before Tiffany, but because I'm the oldest one here. But we're building a timber frame house, and it's going slow, and the weather's not been cooperating. And I don't know if you can hear right now. We've got, rain pummeling us and thunderstorm going on right now. So we're doing what we can, but it's coming along, and it'll be cool.
And yet the show must go on, So yep. And so Joseph's got he's got the storms getting him a little bit, and we do thank the viewers for tuning in. And Tiffany. It's good. Usually you're the one that gets bumped off the show because we have, and I'm thinking, wait a second. Tiffany's Republican. This is her field. Why are we gonna have Brad on here? I mean, after all, it's like, it's like Brad's the third wheel on a date, and we don't need him. So Tiffany, how are you this evening?
I am great. I'm excited to be with my people. So Jay and Andrew, welcome to the team. So excited to have you in the family. Special spot for you at the family reunion in a couple weeks. That'll be a lot of fun.
Yeah. And, I'm a little bit upset that she was talking, the lady you were with the video, she was talking about Father's Day, and she omitted that that's actually my birthday.
So, I know it. What's the matter with her?
I know. What the heck? And so,
I love that.
I'll have him make a few protest signs just for you. So, Jay, are you a delegate, Jay, or did you run for the delegate?
I'm not a delegate. I switched counties, and nobody knows me down here, which is great.
Okay.
Wow.
I'm incognito down in Brown County. I just keep my nose clean.
You were in Brown.
I ran as a delegate, and I got smoked because everybody on the list, there's not many openings in Brown County, not a lot of population. But everybody on the list is old school Brown County, and I didn't have a chance. But hey, it was a good way for me to introduce myself to people.
Yep, and I'm sure the party was beating your door down to appoint you. I'm just positive that. You just said, "Oh, no thanks."
No question about it.
Who would want Jay Hart at their convention? I'm telling you, I think there's only one man hated
worse.
But
I will be at the convention. I'll be working at the convention.
Okay. Oh, who are you working for?
I'll be working for my friend Diego Morales.
Okay, we got representation here tonight.
That might shock a few people, but
why would that shock people?
I think it would. I think it shocks people because I've just started sort of distancing myself from politics. Really, I keep running my mouth, but I haven't really wanted to do anything anymore. It's funny. I was just getting ready to say, Andrew, I think you might be taking my place in this party. I'm just stepping back.
Which part? The running?
Hey, there's a door on our tent. There's a door on our big tent. There's not. It's not a big tent with no door like some of the establishment folks have.
Jay, talk more. I want to understand why you're choosing to support Diego.
Well, one of the reasons is that I see this big machine coming from outside of our state coming at Diego, and we just have to decide: is Indiana going to run Indiana, or is Washington going to run Indiana? And I could spend the whole show talking about why, but going back to, I have no problem with Max. I knew Max when Max was a CR at IUPUI. I was a 36-year-old CR at IUPUI when Max was there, and we got in a little trouble together fighting the first Obama run. And and I have no problem with Max, but there's a lot of people surrounding Max that I think are the problem of the party and taking it a different direction. Like Joseph, has been talking about. I'm so excited to see Joseph, taking a rifle approach. I don't know if we're allowed to even use those sort of words anymore, but instead of
you're in Brown County, you hillbilly.
Attacking the, how our platform is built. It's very important for people to understand how our party works. And I love that Joseph's been in the time and effort. And I mean, he's got a beautiful family, a wonderful life, and he could be doing anything, but he's doing this for all of us. And we're just at a point in this party where we're trying to decide, what is this party? Is the Republican Party the party of, is it now the party of abortion and homosexuality and foreign lobbyists and big spending? Is that what the Republican Party is? And if it is that, if that's the way it's gone with the new version of Trump, if that's the direction it's going, then like Reagan said about the Democrat Party, then the Republican Party is leaving Jay Hart behind, because I'm not going to have any part of that. But if the party is the party that's going to fight back against this new leadership within our party and try to get it on track with what we truly believe, small government, cutting spending, cutting taxes, being truly America first and putting Hoosiers first, if that's what the party is, and we're allowed to criticize people like Jim Banks bringing $3 million into Indiana, or millions and millions of dollars into Indiana from outside, not only outside of the state, but outside of the country, and bringing that in to decide what our state is going to be. If we're allowed to fight that way in the Republican Party, then I'll stick around in the Republican Party and be a part of that fight with Joseph and all of you guys. But if we're at a point where we say, well, Jay, we're no longer fighting abortion. We're not for a national ban on abortion. We're not for marriages between one man and one woman. We're not for America First policy. We're not for, stopping this insane debt. If we're not allowed to do that, then I'm wasting my time. And Joseph is wasting his precious time. We're all wasting our time if we're not allowed to fight against those things within our party. That's why we have primaries. And now we're getting to a point to where it's like, if we criticize our leadership that is clearly going the opposite direction of what our platform has been for many years, if we're all going to be deemed non-Republicans or we're Democrats, or, if that's what's going to happen, then why am I here? I just need to get back into
All right. Well, you've used up all your time. Now, I would say that, the old establishment, I call them the Old Testament, and this new establishment is the New Testament.
Right.
And, it's the definition of establishment is those that are in charge of the mess. I mean, that's pretty much the definition, the establishment. Somebody would say, well, these Banks is not the establishment. Well, he sure is sticking his nose as the establishment. And I got to put in a plug right now. Jim Banks, he and I know if you've been following me at all on social media, you know that he endorsed Natalie Goodwin against me for Marion County chair. And you see where the Marion County GOP is in the dumpster in Marion County. They can't even field candidates. They can't get poll workers. We are gone. Between Elsner starting the destruction and Goodwin finishing it off, we're gone. And that is a Jim Banks endorsement. And somebody needs to realize that he just endorses somebody for whatever reason for his own good. So anyway, that's two
right.
Jim Banks strikes.
Somebody can perform. He doesn't care if someone can perform.
Okay, we got to get to Joseph. All right, Joseph, you're back. You're back. We did this to Jamie Rittenauer when she came on. Remember, Tiffany? We sat there, we talked about this and that, and Jamie was just sitting there going, just like Joseph. So Joseph, give us the synopsis of this what you're trying to do. Give us what you're trying to do.
Well, it really boils down to I'm trying to reestablish that we can follow fair and orderly process at the convention. I mean, if I could sum it up in one sentence, what we want is I guess the place to start would probably be the main resolution that I'm trying to bring to the convention this year is a resolution to restore district caucuses. And what a district caucus is it's the group of delegates that lives in a particular congressional district. And it's the way that we used to filter business a long time ago, because when you have 1,800 people in a room, you got to be able to filter and constrain the business somehow, because you don't want to be there for 3 days. But if you break it out into smaller groups, then they can discuss and debate platform amendments or whatever other party-related business needs to come before the convention, and then you can establish a barrier. You can say, well, if this doesn't pass the district caucus, then we don't need to hear about it. And that's how you weed out all the stuff that just doesn't have that much popular support.
Right,
and
well,
this is
so-
how we used to do things.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I know that it's a long process. Just think if we had 3 contested races like we did before, it would be a long, long day. I know we just have one. I mean, you know, it's Dan Elliott's going to have smooth sailing. Elise Nashala is going to have smooth sailing. So there is definitely time to have some more things on the agenda. And, you know, I just think we just need to take the time to do it. So, Andrew, I know that you've had a chance to read over this, and I know that you had one complaint. I
have many complaints.
Somebody's got some noise going here bad. It might be me. No, there we go. Hold on a second. Man, my sound has gone crazy on me here. So go ahead, Andrew. Go ahead and give me your opinion on what you think about Joseph. I know you had given me an opinion on something, and I can't remember what it was.
Oh, my opinion isn't on Joseph. I like Joseph. Joseph and I are pretty much, and we're pretty much aligned on. You know, we've talked about this before, and I agree with him.
Is that?
Yeah. Hello.
The sound is like
I can hear, and I can hear everything fine, John. It's just maybe
I can't hear anything either. This is like
no. We can hear. I can hear.
Oh, you guys can hear Andrew, okay?
Yeah.
Okay, it's on my end. I'm going to go out and fix this. Talk amongst yourself for a second.
Well, anyway, I guess my complaints are kind of manifold, but and it seems odd that I'm jumping out of the Libertarian Party because I have problems with the Libertarian Party and jumping into the GOP because I have problems with the GOP. But the fact is, there is going to be a comeuppance in the midterms. And I think there's going to be a shakeout, and people are going to understand that changes need to be made. And some of those changes are kind of represented, I thought, in the party platform, which is 4 pages long. You know, that's a long, and that's, you know, double-sided. That's a long, that's TLDR to the max. And it's got a lot of stuff in it that really isn't government's business. And it really misses the whole idea of what's really hurting people right now. And I think a party platform should be focused. And it should be, in fact, the party really should be refocused on, really, we're looking at a time when the Maslow's hierarchy of needs, you know, like basic stuff like gas prices, food prices, and, you know, the fact that our government is owned by another government. All of these things are big, big deals. And we in all parties, it's not just, you know, it's not just one of the things that bugged me about the Libertarian Party is that it's right on so many issues, but wrong on priorities. And so many people get disgusted when they hear libertarians start talking, and such that, you know, when they talk to me, they say, well, you know, I'm not into all of that stuff that you guys are into. Well, I'm not either. I want to talk about what's really happening to the country in terms of economics. We've lost our military and monetary hegemony. China is growing fast. We've got a lot of big, big issues that we're not even really thinking about. And when we're talking about a party platform, even at the state level, we should be focused more on things that are hurting people, like property taxes. What are we going to do about that? And all of this stuff that concentrate on those things, get rid of everything else. And then if we focus on a few things, make, you know, the party platform more like an action plan. You know, if I've been a product manager in medical imaging devices before, and one of the things you have to do is focus. You don't want to have mission creep. You're going to have all of these documents you're preparing. You have, you know, marketing requirements, you have product requirements, you have engineering requirements, and they have to be focused and they have to be traceable to things like your principles and to your goals. And we're not doing that. We're just throwing words all over pages, and we're making these platitude statements that you can't really hold a politician to anyway. So if you've got, you know, we got a slate of candidates that call themselves a Republican, but, you know, they're increasing spending, they're increasing the size and intrusiveness of government. We're getting flock cameras and all this stuff going on all over the place. Is this, and they've got a total lock on both Indiana and federal governments right now. So the GOP
The
has no
example I
excuse
like
for
to
any of
look
this.
at is the contract with America from the early 90s with Newt Gingrich. That's what a party platform is supposed to be. It's supposed to be, here, electorate, we're making our case for why you should vote for us. This is what we intend to do when we get in office and you give us power. And then when you get in power, you execute what you promised. And if you get that going correctly, you build this cycle of trust, which is very hard to build in politics. But that, I think, is the pathway to doing that, is you make your list of promises and you keep your promises.
And that's the tough part, because the trust has been broken on so many levels for quite a long time now. So, I mean, really what has to happen, and my optimism, which is probably, I've been called all kinds of things, probably not usually optimistic, but one of the things that has me optimistic is that there is going to be a major shakeup, whether we want it or not. It's coming. And so with a shakeup comes opportunity. And I think that opportunity can be to take a look and say, all right, we've screwed up. Mea culpa. We have a new direction we have to take. We're going to have to shake out some people. I hate to say it, a lot of us boomers we've just not been, keeping up with the facts as they're coming through, modern media. So a lot of us have been raised, all of us have been raised on lies. I mean, there's no doubt about that. But the fact that there is media and information available to young people that's never been available to anybody ever before, that's an opportunity. And I'm hoping we can capitalize on that.
Absolutely. What do you think about this one, Andrew? So something I've thought about, like the generational conflict, is, when your parents' generation got back from World War II, they had experienced the Depression, they had experienced the horrors of World War II. And for the first time in history, we had wildly wealth. We were wildly wealthy beyond any of our ancestors' dreams for the average person. And I'm wondering if some of the issues that we see are a result of trying to shelter your generation from the horrors that your parents had all experienced.
I guess I have to push back on that a little bit. You have to remember that every generation is screwed up. And so the so-called, greatest generation gave us FDR. And I mean, we had, you can't blame boomers for Wilson. You can't blame boomers for FDR and all. No generation has corrected the mistakes of the previous generation.
Yeah, and Generation X, my generation is just as guilty right now, in the now. Well, I would say just as guilty as the boomer generation, but I know a lot of people my age. I've lost a lot of friends in the past year or so over disagreeing with Trump, and they're sort of the same thing. But I kind of feel like for some of the boomer friends that I know, that they don't want to. I really feel that they're at an age where they just don't want to admit to themselves that they've been lied to all of their lives. And a lot of the things that they think, things that they're very passionate about at their core of believing in America, that those people, that they are, they don't want to accept that they've been lied to their whole lives.
Well, it's bigger than that. You don't want to accept that you've been making mistakes for all your voting life. And one of the things that I think younger people have to kind of accept if they want to be, reasonable, is that we boomers are outnumbered. Young people outnumber us greatly. And so if you're looking at the Thomas Massey, election, for instance, he should have won if young people vote, but young people don't vote. And so, there's a lot of guilt to go around. The issue is, what are we going to do next? Do we have any kind of vision? My issue is, do we even have an idea about what we want this country to be? And, that's why I wrote the book, Relighting the Torch, because I wrote down in it, the whole Constitution's in there, the whole Declaration of Independence is in there with my annotation, so you know how I'm reading it. But the idea is, I'm trying to lay out what this was supposed to work like, where we went wrong. I put the whole rule set in there, the whole design that was kind of bequeathed to us and is still ours by law, how we screwed it up and how we can fix it. Now, that's just one possibility. But if you're asking, these people who are blaming boomers for all of this stuff, all right, what do you want next? Is it going to be socialism? Is it going to be communitarianism? Is it going to be what? And that's where we're really running into trouble, because we don't have a common view of anything anymore, because Our government has been thriving on divide and conquer. We're divided by race, by sex, by gender preferences, by ethnicity, religion. I mean, there's something new every day to divide people. And that's
media environment
powerful.
is very much contributing to that as well, because everybody with, whatever crazy idea that used to have to keep it to themselves goes and finds a group of people on the internet with the same crazy idea that would have not went anywhere, which cuts both ways. Sometimes that ends in, people getting together and starting a business, but other times it ends in furry conventions.
Yeah. Andrew, when you talked about us being divided, it made me think about June being Nuclear Family Month. We have found yet another way to divide people. And even getting to people within the Republican Party. I'm divorced. I raised my daughter mainly by myself. She went to Cathedral High School, graduated at IU. She's working on her doctorate right now.
Congratulations.
We live in a nice house in Fishers. You can look me up on my case. There's a divorce there, and I think a couple of speeding tickets. Pay my bills on time. You know what I'm saying? So you have this nuclear family thing, and I was married. I tried my best to be married, but during those 10 years, my ex-husband and I were both on active duty, and our marriage was a casualty of it was a casualty of 9/11, because ops tempo changed, the world changed. And all of a sudden, my family is not to be celebrated. We are not held in the same regard as a traditional 2-parent household, one man, one woman, one husband. That hurts. That really hurts my feelings, because at the end of the day, there are 2-parent households, one man, one woman, where people are miserable. People are being abused.
That's true.
It was just really and I grew up in a traditional nuclear family. My dad was the breadwinner. My mom did not work. Every day I came home from school, my mom was there. I tried my best to recreate that for my daughter, but you know what? It wasn't worth it to stay married and to live in an unproductive environment. So I think, to me, children that are raised in loving, supportive environments where, parents are empowered to get resources. There was a time in there where, my daughter's mixed. My ex-husband is white. And I went to Big Brother or Big Sister because my daughter needed a white female in her life. And I go down there and I go to sign her up, and they're looking at me like, "You're a strong Black woman. You don't need a strong Black woman for your daughter." I was like, "No, I need a college educated white female who played a collegiate sport to be my daughter's big sister." And that is exactly what we got. And Michaela had a big sister for maybe 4 or 5 years. And it was wonderful because Kelsey was able to give Michaela something that I couldn't give her. And then when it came to having positive male role models in her life, I signed her up for Herb Johnson Karate so she could be around positive male role models in a safe, supportive environment. In fact, when Michaela was in 4th grade, I think she started in 3rd grade. And in 4th grade, she was sparring. We went to a tournament. She walked out with 2 first place trophies. You know what I'm saying? It's like I took the time to put my child in situations that would build her and give her things that I could not. And I really think that the declaration, where I understand that the importance of a supportive environment for a child, how it was probably unnecessarily divisive within our community. And I think that, there were some things that could have been added, like, family is to be respected and loved, and it's a supportive place for kids. And, just making sure that parents are doing the best for their kids. Because I think that's where a lot of things get mixed up, when parents aren't doing the best. And I also think it would have been a great opportunity to include the success theory, the idea that for our children, regardless of their family life, for them to have the ultimate success in life, we would love for them to graduate high school, work full time, get married, and then have children. So I think that they really missed an opportunity to pull in the success theory that our General Assembly worked really, really hard to incorporate and get passed. They really missed that opportunity for that to help set a vision for families moving forward. That's all I got to say. I know I used my time. I yield my time.
Hopefully, can you hear me now? I mean, can you hear me?
No, we can't hear you. No, sorry.
Oh yeah, you guys did a great job. I'll tell you what, I'm over the technology. I'm on my phone now because I can blah blah whatever. Anyway, I love this. That I got a ether cord and all that to get this thing running. It's been working well on all my other stuff, and then now it's bad. So anyway, back to hold on. I want to do one thing here. I had some people ask me about Micah Beckwith and this lawsuit. And basically they said, oh, Micah lied about supporting this lawsuit. And so I tracked it down. I called Micah today and I tracked it down and I said, hey, what's up with that? He says, I supported the lawsuit. I just wasn't on it. And I would say I have a little thing here. Let's see. Let me show this part. Let's see. This will be. So this is various Republican activists and organizations, including Beckwith, the Hoosier Freedom Caucus, and the Indiana Republican Assembly and Tea Party groups are supportive of the lawsuit. That comes from the Indiana Capitol Chronicle, and that is actually a Joseph Bortka quote. So Joseph, give us the lowdown on that. I mean, why are people trying to corner Micah into some kind of corner?
So this morning when we talked about it a little bit, I made a point to talk to Mike about it before I came on here, so we understood what was going on. We think we figured out what happened. There's two things that people are trying to mix up. There's parties to the lawsuit that are named on the lawsuit, and then there's people that support the lawsuit, which were listed on the press release. Micah agreed to be listed on the press release as a supporter. He is not a party to the lawsuit. And I think what happened was that in some conversation he had with somebody, that got mixed up and the person didn't quite understand what he was saying. And so he's supportive of the lawsuit, but he's not a party to the lawsuit. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and I think sometimes when things get confusing like that, it gets people mixed up. And if somebody doesn't ask, then it stays mixed up, and then that's how things go sideways. So that is definitely part of the issue. So I'm glad we got that cleared up. So anybody that was asking me those questions, there you go. The answer is Micah supported that the lawsuit would be, that these issues would be addressed. And he's not part of the lawsuit. So there you go. You guys can, your hair can be put out now because it's on fire. But anyway, it seems like these days people are really trying to catch somebody in something. I see some of these comments I see about, hey, so-and-so cut their mattress tag off in 1984. It's, oh my gosh, I can't vote for that person now. So Jay Hart, you've been very good since your first rant and raving there. I'm going to give you another chance to get in here and tell me what you've been listening to here and what you think.
Real quick, and I won't go very far on this, but Tiff, I think that's really great what you were saying earlier. I wouldn't see that it would be, I didn't see that as a very divisive gesture, I guess, by the Republican Party, but I definitely could see how it would burn my ass being a single mom, doing wonderful and everything going great in my life being a single mom, and I would feel excluded. I would feel excluded, but I think it's important to point that out because I didn't look at it that way, and I will now. I mean, I will consider that now when I think about the nuclear family, because for the last, looking at the numbers, at the facts.
Consider the divorce rate.
Yeah. Oh, I agree. I don't think just because you have a nuclear family, it doesn't mean I was raised in a house where two people were married for a long time. It was pretty awful. But either way, I'd like to go back to the Secretary of State's race and Diego Morales. I got a message the other day from a friend, and I won't say who that friend is, but they're involved in politics and they're very smart people. But I want to read this real quick, just a quote, and I know they won't mind me saying this here, but I asked about what they said the same thing you said, Tiff. They said, well, why would anybody be shocked that you're going to be supporting Diego? And this is what they said. I kept hearing negativity about Diego, and none of it I'm 100% sure is legit. I hesitate because it seems to me I could be wrong. He was excessively and wrongly targeted. I've asked people pointing fingers at him to explain so I understand what he did wrong, and no one's able to do that. And that's kind of where I've been with Diego from the beginning. I understand Diego didn't come from a big position in politics, an executive position in politics. I thought when he got into office, he would stumble around a little bit, but he was set up to stumble around. He didn't get the kind of cushion and the surroundings and the attaboys and you go get him. He didn't get that sort of support from the party. So I could see him being a bit naive about some things. The contracts for sure. And, you know, the thing about Diego is when I had a question about what he might be doing or what's happening in that office, I would call or text Diego. He called me right back. He would text me right back. He would talk to me straight, give me straight answers about everything I wanted to hear. And I'm just shocked. Well, I'm not shocked. I shouldn't say it. I'm not shocked because I knew when he won at that convention, I was standing right in front of him. He and Keegan were behind me. And I turned around and I said, they are never going to let you sleep. They're never going to, you beat them. They're never going to let you sleep. And they haven't. They haven't let him sleep. And now I see, again, nothing against Dave Shelton. Dave's been very pleasant to me. I don't know him all that well, but I'm going to support Diego Morales, the guy that picked up the phone, answer the calls, and the guy that I've seen. I've witnessed this. I've seen it. And by the way, it's pretty disgusting. You talked about Daniel Elliott earlier. It's pretty disgusting. You see Daniel turning on the way he does. And we all know that's because of politics. Because Daniel Elliott wouldn't be treasurer today without Diego Morales. I was standing there when the text went through to get the people back in the convention. Daniel wouldn't be treasurer today without Diego. And it's pretty crappy.
Tell me more.
Well, because at the convention, after Diego won, people were going to leave. And so Daniel's team, I was there working for Daniel. I was whipping votes for Daniel on the floor. In fact, I worked my ass off on that floor to help Daniel. And I got him a bunch of votes on that floor. And I've not been impressed at all of what he's doing with Hoosiers money over in Israel. It's driving me insane. Andrew, I'm sure you're on top of that. but when Daniel's team wanted Diego's team to send that text message out to keep people in the building. And Daniel wouldn't have won without Diego.
Can I offer an outsider's view? I mean, just looking at I'm the new guy, but having looked at the Secretary of State's office for many, well, actually decades now, just from the outside, it looks like there's been an awful lot of corruption and funny dealing, not just with Diego, but I mean with people who were elected when they knew that they couldn't fill out their whole term. People who were like appointed incumbents. There's just been a lot of stuff that from an outside view looked like, are these really trustworthy people running our elections? And I'm just, you know, you were on the inside, you have the inside baseball view. I get that. But from the outside, the GOP right now has got a serious image problem. And now whether Diego got, torpedoed or whether, I've heard an awful lot of stuff about Diego that's very disturbing. And, I don't know. I only know what I read and what I can find out. And I know that we're all inundated with lies. But the fact is, there is a big image problem right now. And you've got a pretty boy, Bo Bai, who's like a Hollywood pick for, the Secretary of State's office. He's like gone through the casting department and they picked this guy who looks good and he presents well and he's not stupid. And so I get the idea that an awful lot of people like Jim Banks are going to they're going to take their endorsement, like with, they can kind of rip it off like a Band-Aid and slap it onto somebody else because this guy is prettier and he's going to look better up against Bo. He was a model. We got to, so from the outside, this looks like a lot of image management and a lot of stuff that isn't substantive. And I'm hoping that, the delegates are going to get, cagey about two things. First of all, we've got to rebuild trust. We really have to do something serious in order to rebuild the reputation of a party that is totally in charge and totally to blame for, I'm not going to say everything because this is an inherited problem. Nobody has been fighting, the spending and debt and all of that kind of stuff that's been going on forever. But in Indiana, there isn't anybody else to blame for all of this stuff going on. So, and with all of this stuff going on, and people are going to be, just by the end of this summer, it's going to get ugly. And I think that the Republican Party is going to have an awful lot of work to do to get its reputation of anything back again. So all I'm saying is just as a counterpoint, from the outside, Diego looks like a big liability. That's all.
But the liability, is that not fabricated within the establishment? And do we also have a problem with an image problem with what our party did to Curtis Hill? Now what our party's doing to Diego Morales? To me, I mean,
they did it to me.
Indiana Republican, I understand that, but I think we're talking about two people who were very well liked, especially when they were elected, obviously by the delegation. And we saw the party go after them in such a way. We've watched it from the beginning. They did this. They're doing the same thing to Micah Beckwith. But to me, I think there's a big image problem. Like if I'm a person of color, I am a person of color. I'm like 38% Hispanic, by the way. But
Sweetie, you're peach. Go ahead.
but I think I'm looking at that and I'm saying, am I really welcome in this party? Am I welcome in this party when we have such? I think Curtis Hill's an outstanding Republican. I think he's an outstanding constitutionalist. And watching that made me sick to my stomach. I mean, that whole process, and then to see it just like transferred like right from Curtis right into Diego's office immediately. I mean, it started immediately with him. And I'm not going to say that Diego didn't, I think there was some, I think he was a bit naive about some of it. And, he gave some people some ammunition for sure. But again, I called him. I said, "Hey, is this true? What is happening here?" And he was very reasonable in his explanation. And I'm sorry. I'm with Diego. I mean, well, I'm not sorry. I'm not sorry at all.
I don't know
where everybody else stands on this race. If you don't mind talking?
I'm not going to give an opinion on what I think. I'm going to just see, how things unfold and just for, my proprieties, rules, I suppose. I don't want to say out loud who I would intend to vote for because I'm actually not sure, first of all. And I do have leanings, but I wanted to see how this shakes out because it should be pretty exciting. I'm kind of hoping it's going to be a fun convention. But I think that, the key thing, to me, is that the GOP has got some problems. And I think, I want to get back to, what Joseph's talking all about, because one of the things I'm hoping we can do at the convention is get back to some sanity where some people are talking about closing the primaries, which would be exotically expensive and difficult to do, when really we ought to just get rid of primaries entirely. And that would give more power to the delegates. It would give more, breathing space for voters. It would offer a lot less time and money for people to come in and pick candidates like what happened to, Thomas Massey. So I think it would be better for everybody.
A little bit. So close the primaries is one of the resolutions we proposed. There's a number of reasons for that. And the first one is, right now, our political parties, like even in their own party rules, both subject themselves to statutes. But the laws that are passed by the legislature actually can't bind the way that a party chooses its candidates, according to several different Supreme Court cases. And so one of the things we got to do is break people in the party out of the mindset that we have to use primaries to select our candidates in the first place, or that we have to let Democrats participate in our primaries. And the other one, the district caucuses, well, that's where we used to choose our congressmen. We used to choose congressmen in district level conventions. And they used to have them as a part of the main convention, like we're proposing we go back to. So if we get a foot in that door, the step between choosing going to from closed primaries to back to convention nominated Congress people is not actually that big of a jump.
I get that idea, but I mean, the whole idea of primaries as implemented right now is that they're unconstitutional. So because they are closed to independents and other parties and all of that kind of thing, there's just no way around the fact that it's unconstitutional. And we're asking taxpayers to support basically only two parties to promote their candidates. And that's, I get from the inside of party view, yeah, great, this is good for us. But really, what does it do for voters? I mean, voter exhaustion is kind of a big deal, and that's one of those things where you think about
voter exhaustion. They do.
Yes.
Most people don't even vote.
Exactly, and why
What
is
are they
that?
exhausted
Because
from?
they hear a year of campaign commercials, a year, and by the time the primaries are done, I mean, I got to tell you, I have a lot of experience on the other side of this window. And so when you think about how many people have already decided who they're going to vote for in the primaries, that's frustrating. So I know that I'm talking to Republicans now as a Republican, and so I shouldn't be defending libertarians too much.
I was just getting ready to say that.
but the point is this: we have been doing bad by voters, and voters know it. And so the whole idea of the uniparty is coming up.
So voter exhaustion. Voters they feel screwed over. They don't participate. I mean, that's not a good self-cleaning oven.
Well, look at I'm just going to give the example again of Thomas Massie. And I don't know what you guys think of Thomas Massie. I think he is like this is what I think a Republican should be like, in my view. And so in my view, Thomas Massie got screwed over. And, when you think about how easy it would have been, I see like people like Warren in History 66 had already been blaming boomers for everything and saying we expect special treatment and all of that kind of stuff. But dang it, young people didn't vote. And it's because of that that Thomas Massie lost. And so if we were to just stop dividing ourselves against each other and start thinking more about the basic needs, and I mean, less party, more United States, less party, more Indiana, and think about what is going to make Indiana a better state. And
keeping Washington out of our election.
Exactly. Yeah. And how much money comes into Indiana elections through the primaries?
Well, I've gotten 3 text messages today out of Max's camp, which is, of course, Banks.
Yeah. Well, don't get me started on Banks.
Andrew, my biggest concern about what you're saying isn't that electing people in conventions is necessarily a bad thing. I actually am quite sympathetic to that. And I've actually heard quite a few people starting to talk about that idea as well. I'm trying to think about, okay, this is what we want. How do we get from point A to point B? And part of it is the electorate isn't even ready for something like that. The people in the party don't even think of that as a possibility for the most part. There are people that are talking about it and thinking about it, but part of the battle is winning people over to the idea of even challenging the legislature on something like primaries. What the state law says that we're going to have a primary and it's going to be an open primary. The party rules say we're going to listen to whatever the statute says when they don't have to. Like, you have to get, like, part of the biggest problem that I'm running into is people are thinking, oh, well, the statute always supersedes, but hey, no, there's all these constitutional Supreme Court decisions that say otherwise, and it's not even like an out there constitutional argument, but we still have to break that into people's heads a little bit.
Well, to be fair, I mean, in statute, it's already illegal to vote in the other party's primary. I mean, so it's not that anybody can do anything about it. The real issue with closing the primaries is making some kinds of means of closing the primaries. And the other part to this is that primaries are recent. I know, you guys are all young pups, and once again, I'm defending the boomers again, but I remember that we didn't have primaries until the early 1970s. I don't remember what year it was exactly, but there are states that still don't have primaries.
Early. They started them in like the 20s, and then they stopped having them, and then they went back.
Yeah, but Indiana really, I mean, the fact that they started actually in the late 1800s, but they died, and they were trying in several places. But the fact is, we did not get a rollout of primaries for, like a universal primary until the 1970s. And a lot of states still don't have them. And then some places, even like in Virginia, where they'll have primaries by, county or canton kind of a thing. So it's everybody does it differently. And it's as a constitutional matter, I mean, of course, there's a big difference between Indiana code and Indiana Constitution. The code is generally largely unconstitutional. But, you know, I get your point about finding a way to get to a better state. But when we try to take, my concern is that sometimes you just have to rip the Band-Aid off. Sometimes you just have to say, we're just going to do this. And all this would be
you're right. But sometimes the issue is the person who's ripping the Band-Aid off.
Yeah, that's true too.
You know,
and
it's a great idea, but sometimes it's who's bringing the idea.
Well, and I'm probably the wrong one to bring it, of course. But the fact is,
you're new.
Yeah, I'm new, and I'm both new and I have history. And so, like when I won I won a primary as a Republican for U.S. House in 2004. And I got all kinds of grief from the party. So I sympathize a little bit with the Diego scenario because I know how, they accuse me of stealing Mitch Daniels' yard signs and all kinds of stuff like that. So there's a lot of ugly stuff that goes on the inside. What I'm saying is that I think that, as delegates, if we could do anything like make statements of direction, and that's really all we can do. We're not legislating. We're not doing anything other than just offering our opinions. And then making votes on just a few key races that are, just the Secretary of State's race.
Well, except for one small area where the convention could actually have binding authority, which is over the party organization itself. So, this is something we've tried to walk that tightrope the last few years. The resolutions that we've tried to bring in the past and platform amendments, they don't actually have binding authority, but one of the biggest problems right now is nobody even cares about the platform at all. Well, a lot of the elected officials, it's just toilet paper to them.
Yep.
Because they know, Joseph, because they know the electorate isn't familiar with it. Most people don't know. A lot of people in the party don't even know we have a platform. They don't even know it. They're elected and they don't even know we have a platform. And I've knocked on thousands of doors and talked to people, and they don't understand what makes them a Republican. They really don't. They don't know that there's a document that talks about the things that we're supposed to support. They don't even know it. Most of the people who are supporting Donald Trump right now, at any age, they have no idea. They really think they're hardcore Republican, but they couldn't really tell you what are our principal goals, as a Republican Party. What are those goals? And if they don't know that, they basically think, well, whatever Donald Trump says, that's the Republican platform.
We don't have an effective process right now for figuring out what those things should be. That's what this is all about. This is why I'm fighting this fight, is because right now we don't have an effective process of figuring out what we stand for as Republicans all together as one party. And that's why there's so much infighting, I would say.
Yeah.
You're right.
Hey,
we can't agree on this stuff.
John, I know you're in the background. Can you put a link to the party platform in the chat, just so if anybody wants to be able to look at it? That would be fantastic.
Speaking of the platform, I want to kind of circle back to something Tiffany was talking about with the whole, family situation thing. This has been a constant thing that people have been fighting about on platform language, and I've seen 2 platform amendments so far that have tried to address it. I think the bottom line is there is an ideal form of the family, to use Plato's terms. There's an ideal form. If you look at all the studies about lifetime success, a stable 2-parent male-female household has the best outcomes. But we're also trying to recognize that there are situations that are less than perfect, and we don't think that these people are less than just because they're in a bad situation. And so that tightrope has been walked, and people are trying to argue with it. And again, I've seen already 2 different platform amendments that have tried to address that, because our platform is trying to walk that tightrope.
I agree with everything you said except for bad situation. Every single parent is not in a bad situation. That's all.
Can I just ask, though, why this is actually even in the amendment? I mean, in the platform, if this really isn't something that, I get the idea that we want government to do good things, and we want to be, all laws are legislated morality when you get right down to it. But is this really what we want to concentrate on? Like what I started off, talking about.
Exactly, because it's unnecessarily divisive.
Yes.
All
and
we
that's
had to say was June is the month of the family. We celebrate people who are coming together to raise children, be it a traditional family, a blended family, or a single parent household. We recognize that children are our future and that they should be highly invested in. We as Republicans want to make sure that children have every chance for the future. We're going to continue to invest in education. We're going to make school choice something that is available. We're going to work on making sure that things are affordable, family housing, generational work. We're going to upskill, we're going to create jobs. We're going to do everything that we can to support families. That's all we had to say.
The thing is, the purpose of government is to uplift the good and stamp out the bad stuff. And that's really like,
what is the bad stuff? The bad stuff is child abuse, pedophilia, children shooting each other, children running the streets. No, that's environment for what children. Is the bad stuff?
There is an ideal environment for children, and it should be the purpose of government to promote that as the ideal form and to create situations where that is easier for families to accomplish.
But
that's
Tiffany,
really what it should be.
Your description includes homosexual marriage families, and I would say
if you read the Indiana Constitution, Article 8 says everything a common school is supposed to be and how it's supposed to be funded. It's not supposed to be including sports. It's not supposed to be doing anything other than offering a secular, in this case, that we had church schools, we still do. We had free schools offered by other things. We have homeschooling, but the whole point of Article 8 was to offer a secular, tuition-free environment for, it's supposed to be common schools, same across the state. It was not supposed to be paid for by property tax, which is why we have poor schools in poor areas and rich schools in rich areas, because we've tied it to property tax. So there's a bunch of dumb stuff we've done, and we've allowed ourselves to make this mission creep of, because we have this Article 8 and we've stuck our toe into education, where, in my view, that's a very dangerous thing to do. Like, there's this apocryphal story about Hitler and this guy were arguing, and Hitler says, you may be arguing with me now, but your children are in my schools. And that is kind of the scary stuff that we have allowed ourselves to step into, where now we have made it, we have because of anti-miscegenation laws and the slavery days, we got marriage licensing, which now means that we can separate people. You're gay, you can't get married, or you can't have, marriage is now about Social Security, bereavement pay, visitation rights. We've complicated everything to heck, and we have lost track of all of the stuff that government's really supposed to punish crime, protect property rights. Very few things. When it comes to uplifting good, I don't trust politicians to even make the assessment of what's good. Politicians have no experience with good. In fact, generally speaking, I think of them as, kind of like lizard people. And so we really ought to be thinking more about what's important, what's going to be hitting people hard in the next several months, and then focusing on what Indiana can do to mitigate the fact that we are losing our dollar hegemony. The whole, you look at stock market today, it's going up and down. Look at gold prices. Look at how all of the nations in the world are buying gold. And the biggest export in the United States right now is not cars. It's not soybeans. It's gold. We're selling off our gold, which is why gold prices are down now. So we've got some big trouble coming up. And as we're talking about all of this, interpersonal and family stuff, that's one of the things that drove me crazy with the Libertarian Party. All the talk about, sexuality and drugs and open borders and all of that stuff. That was missing the mark. Whether you agree with them or not, it's missing the mark. And it's just not what people should be talking about. Yeah. Well, it's
the wrong time to talk about it. I've had a bunch of people criticize me lately and say, Jay, are you leaving the Republican Party? You're constantly criticizing the Republicans. It's like, no, I'm not leaving the Republican Party. And there's no Democrat policy within me. But we don't have time to talk about that policy because we're losing our country to a foreign nation. We're losing states to a foreign nation. I can set all that policy aside. We can argue that when we're a stronger nation. Right now, by design, somebody said it earlier on the message, It's by design. This division is by design from the folks that want to maintain control of this country. They've snuck up on us. They've taken control of it. And as long as we're all fighting about it, as long as we're all bickering about this stuff, they've been taking and taking and taking $39 trillion, $35 trillion over the last 25 years have been extracted. That wealth's been extracted from our country while we're all talking about, trannies in swimming pools. Like I mean, and I was hooked on that fight for that policy. I was hooked on those things, but I just want to maintain control of our country at this point. I just want to bring Jim Banks back to Indiana to understand this is who you're supposed to be fighting for, not those people on the other side of the ocean in a little country that keeps giving you millions and millions of dollars and promising you some future role in an administration in 28. Like, we all know that's going on. And I don't even want to talk about all the other stuff right now. I still believe very strongly in that marriage is between one man and one woman. I still believe that this is a Christian nation. I still believe all these things, but right now we're not going to have a nation.
And Jay, I agree with you. Andrew, I cannot believe that I'm agreeing with you too. And I think that is so funny. I do think that a lot of this is completely distracting us. And this is a time, this is going to sound really crazy, when I think about where we are right now, and I'm 53 years old. And I think back to the 80s and when I felt like we were more united as a country, as Black people and white people, Republicans and Democrats. I felt like, gays and straights. I felt like we were more united as a country because we knew who our enemies were. It was the communists, and we all cared about the children who were starving in Africa. And when I think about where we are as a country and the number of people who are refusing, the artists that are refusing to participate in the 250th celebration, they don't want to sing, they don't want to be part of Trump's celebration of our country and our celebration. And it really makes me think that we are so divided as a country that our artists don't even want to come together and celebrate the wonderful country that we are. And in a time like this, I'm going deep. This could be a tinfoil hat moment. We need Michael Jackson and Quincy Jones now more than ever. And at a time like this, I'm telling you, at a time
and Eddie
like
Van Halen on that Thriller album.
Right. At a time like this, I need Stevie Wonder to lead the way. I need Willie Nelson to come
I don't know.
out.
Stevie Wonder leading. You might want to pick a different image.
But this is the thing. We need people. We need our artists right now to come together to celebrate our country and to show us the way. The same way they did back in the 80s. We Are the World. We all know every word to those songs, but we need somebody to just pull us together and get us through the next 250 years because we are divided among really, really silly and insignificant.
Every society in history, every empire in history, you see the same signs of civilizational decay, and homosexuality is one of them. I challenge you to go find a decay of an empire in history that does not show rampant homosexuality as part of their decline.
But there's symptoms and then there are causes.
I don't disagree with you, but we have got to become a student of history and say, you know what? We are not going to go through this decline. We're going to be able to beat it. We're going to be able to leap past it and continue to build our country. We know many empires that have failed, and we are an American experiment, but we've got to get past that. We've got to dig into what's important, and we need to pull together as a country. And we need, what Andrew was saying, we need to stop finding ways to divide ourselves. We've got to come together. We just really do. And I think for the Republican Party, what you're saying about our image, the infighting, where we are, I think after the convention, we'll all come together. We'll lick our wounds, we'll come together, sing Kumbaya, and we will be on a better path forward. That is my extreme hope, because we went through the primaries. Primaries are very divisive. I've been through it. I spent almost 30 days at home getting back to myself. And, the path ahead for us as a party, we're going to get through the convention, we'll lick our wounds, and then we'll have to be stronger on the other side. Because at the end of the day, the Republican Party exists to defeat the Democrats. And that's what we need to be focused on. So
ready
you know, we're a little
I'm
bit
ready to
past the
argue.
hour. We're a little bit past the hour. We'll go around one more time. Let everybody say what they need to say. Jay, we'll start with you.
I'm willing to work with anybody who just wants to save this country. I'm willing to hit the pause button on policy that means a lot to me. But I realize that without the United States, we can't do any of that. We can't. We don't have any of this. Our children they have no shot at the future in the future to have the lives that we've lived. They have no shot at it if we don't save that. And so the whole Republican Democrat fight thing, yeah, I disagree with their policy, but if there's anybody on the other side of the aisle that genuinely recognizes that there are people in both parties at the top. It doesn't matter. Doesn't matter if you're Barack Obama or you're George Bush or you're who. It doesn't matter. If those people are trying to take power away from this nation, we need to stop them collectively. We need to stop them. That doesn't mean that I agree with Democrat policy. That just means that, like them, some of them, I've heard them say the same thing, that I'm willing to hit pause on that policy so we can stand together for a moment and say, yes, we don't agree with each other, but we all dislike you. We all want to save this country. And I'm willing to do that. Like right now, I've never been able to say that in my life because I've been so caught up in that fight. But I'm willing to pause all of that. That's where I'm at right now. And so, you know, when you got Laura Loomer, you know, who we know is all part of the big Israel money machine, and we got Laura Loomer involved in our Secretary of State race, like, come on.
Yeah, that's definitely wicked me out.
So delegates, if you're listening, really think, Andrew, please think about this. We're going to allow Washington to come in here via Jim Banks and tell our state how to operate and handpick our Secretary of State from Washington. And again, it's nothing against Max, but if we allow that to happen, we're giving up our state's rights. We're giving up control of our state. And it's a terrible, terrible move. And so I hope the delegates will stop this. I hope they'll stop it, because whatever you think missteps that Diego Morales has made, I mean, do you think that the correction on that is to just give up power to our state and just let Banks and his millions and millions of foreign lobby money decide who's going to represent us? I hope people think about this. I really do. I hope they think about it. I'll be at the convention working my ass off for Diego and for Indiana, ultimately for Indiana.
All right, Jay, thank you. Andrew, we'll go to you, and then Joseph will hit you last since you are our special guest.
Yeah, I don't really have a whole lot to. I think I mouthed off an awful lot. I would just the only thing I would echo with, and maybe just a little bit of a counterpoint to what Jay said, is that just because the bad guys are going after one guy and they're kind of picking another, that doesn't really mean a whole lot. I mean, they're the puppet masters. They might pick you to be Secretary of State in the next day. So it's not like, you know, they've got their own reasons. They turned against Shelton. And so the fact is, they
didn't turn against Shelton.
Oh, that they took their endorsement away. So Jim Banks took his endorsement. He endorsed Shelton. And so if you look to see, you know, all the same people that endorsed Shelton was the guy until Max came, and a lot of the delegates chose Max.
Banks endorsed Diego.
Banks endorsed Diego, then he endorsed Shelton. That's my point. My point
Banks
is
never endorsed Shelton.
Yes, he did.
Endorsed Shelton.
He did. I saw a picture of it even. And so in fact, Shelton actually, I mean, the fact is the same people who were behind Shelton just
Can I
switched
one second? Can I get somebody in the comments to fact check that for me? Thank you. I'm nothing against you, but I've never seen a Banks endorsement.
Yeah, I haven't either.
Well, the fact is, you know that Banks is endorsed. I mean, he was actually even supportive of. Well, my point, which I don't want to get too far off of this because I was hoping not to say a whole lot. My point is, if you look to see how Trump used to say all kinds of bad stuff about, I'll have to look that up because I think I can find out where he did endorse. But anyway, if you look up to see how Trump was all in against Lindsey Graham, and he said all kinds of bad stuff against Lindsey Graham, and now he's saying all kinds of good stuff against Lindsey Graham. That's the way the puppet masters work. And so, the fact that, okay, the Banks pulled his endorsement from Diego and endorsed Max the same day. And so what does that say, Jay? So the fact that, he pulled the endorsement away and then
Banks
slapped
will
it
do
onto
whatever
somebody else.
Washington tells him to do.
Yes. And that's my point. And so we can't just say that, because, it looks like these guys these powers are lining up behind this guy. It doesn't mean that he's good. It doesn't mean that he's bad. It just means that they've got another game that they're playing against us. And our job is not to figure out their game. Our job is just to pick the best Secretary of State candidate who's going to do a good job against the Democrat. And that's really all I wanted to say.
Andrew, I think you and Jay are saying you and Jay are saying the exact same thing, but Jay is just asking the delegates to choose based on who they feel and not based on outside influences. So you guys are saying the exact same thing.
That's fair.
He's just asking for those votes from the delegates to
Max is going to owe a lot of very bad people a lot of things.
So that said, Joseph, we will hand it over to you to talk about what you're hoping to get done at our convention. It certainly will be a live one. All 5 of us will be there, including John.
Sure. Yeah. So, I mean, really, it boils down to what you guys are both talking about. We're trying to figure out the best way to get everybody rowing in the same direction and save our country so we have something to leave our children. I mean, that's really what it's all about. That's why I spend hours and hours of free time doing all this stuff. Like sometimes I question, why the heck do I do this? And it's all because I have 2 toddlers sleeping upstairs right now that I want to leave a country to that is functional and is going to be better than I found it. So, I mean, what all this is, it really, what I hope to see at the convention is we can actually have a real conversation about whether we should bring back the way that conventions have always run, and just so we can hash these issues out in a formal setting, give people practice. There's going to be people there that are, they're going to be filtering up to office one day. Maybe this can be a little extra practice for people before they actually get there, learning the Roberts rules, learning how to articulate your point in 60 seconds. We're not doing a very good job of that right now. Yeah, but I mean,
we're entertainment too. We're entertainment too.
Yeah,
so.
those are the constraints that you run into, and you got to do the same thing when you're in the House and the Senate. There's time limits. There's a lot of people that want to get their 2 cents in, and there's a procedure for doing that. And I think we can get it so that all the activists that have their thing that they want to talk about, we can give them a path to do that. But what I want to stop having to do is tell them, here's what the process says you can do, but they're just going to ignore it, and it's all corrupt. I don't want to have to tell people that. I do not want to go around telling people, sowing discord by telling the truth. I want to tell people, I don't know if you have a shot. Maybe don't even agree with you, but I'll tell you the process that you have to follow, and it's on you to convince the people in the Republican Party.
I agree.
That's all I got to say about that.
So, Joseph, how old are you?
30.
30. I love it because you have a lot more runway than Jay, Andrew, and I. And as delegates, Jay, you said you were Gen X. You're my age. I hope that we, as delegates and Republicans, will be able to ensure that the state and the party is something that is good and viable when we hand it over to you. So as we wrap up the show, I want to make sure that we do mention the names of the other candidates who are running for Secretary of State. So of course, there's our incumbent, Diego Morales. Max Engling is also running. So is Dave Shelton, and then also Jamie Rettenauer. I don't know what John's plan is for the show next week. Certainly, maybe we can give a little bit more airtime to some of the other candidates who are running for Secretary of State. And just so I know, we have a really big audience, and just want to make sure that we're being as fair as possible giving delegates and giving other Republicans and people who watch our show information about everybody who's running for Secretary of State. So, you know, we're at we're at an hour and 25 minutes. I want to thank Jay, Andrew, and Joseph for coming on and joining us tonight. John had some technical difficulties, so he's definitely been behind the scenes. Thank you to everybody in the comments, Kyle Matern, Joe, Noel, Rachel. I saw Susie in here, Farak. Our show is great, but I think the comment section is a show on its own. And we should probably go put it through one of those apps that makes it a song, because I think that would be fun too. But we're as good as our guests and as good as our comment section. So thank you guys so very much. Guests, stay on. We're going to hop into the green room. And everybody else, we will see you guys next week. Thank you so much.